on the Lakeshore debrief, I said, I'm Jesse, I was a lot of them, and now I'm not, which is not very good. I hope Delaney has something better than that. The bar is
but it's true.
Low. Hi, I'm Jesse. I played Gwen the Fae, and it's good to be here.
Hi, I'm Joria. I played Declan the Selkie, and it is good to be here. I was going to say was, but that would have been inaccurate.
Hi, I'm Eli. I was a queen. Anna the queen. And it's good to be here.
Hello, I'm Jordan. I played Riri the vampire, and it is good to be here.
And I'm Jillian. I was the MC. That stands for Miranda Crossgrove. Welcome to iCarly. Just kidding. This is Many Realms.
Huh.
No, I like it.
I like it.
I'm just thinking about the demotion from queen to president that Anna had in this game.
Yeah, I was a queen, and now I just rule the school only more legitimately than before.
Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to our Recount debrief. We just 2 weeks ago we had put out, is that right? 2 weeks ago? When are we going to do this?
Don't specify in case it
in
changes.
the past. We put out the last episode of our 8-episode Monster Hearts arc. And just like we did at the end of Lakeshore, and like we did not do at the end of Tallow, because we thought of it later, we are going to do a little bit of a debrief to talk about how this game went, what we liked, what we learned, and maybe are we going to talk about the future? Maybe not, but there will be a future.
Maybe we'll talk about lobster
Probably.
hearts.
We only talk about lobster hearts.
Until there isn't.
Until there isn't. Until the universe will stop expanding and implode. So.
Okay, can I do a segment? I have a segment I want to do.
Wow. Okay,
Wow.
please.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mourn the PCs that I pitched for this campaign that I didn't get to play, because I always love, this is my first time being a PC on a Many Realms like ARC, and when I am gunning for a role in a campaign, I usually come with options. So I made 3 PCs that I pitched to the group to play in Recount. Obviously the one that made it through was Gwen, the spicy earnest activist fae with a heart of gold, and legs all the way up to I don't know, Lakeshore. But before that, I had 2 other concepts. One was a ghost character named Seth, and his whole thing was going to be that he was an aspiring filmmaker. He was a young documentarian, and through some machination of the plot, he was going to get assigned to stick around, follow Anna everywhere she goes and record her presidential campaign journey. And I wanted him to be kind of like a dweeb, very sarcastic and cynical, hot for Anna because everyone is, but mostly kind of this fly on the wall, this observer character. But I dropped it because I think it would have been too hard to get him into that action all the time, especially in an 8-episode arc. But I love him. Pour one out for Seth. And then the other one was Vicky, who was a nice Christian girl who didn't realize that she was turning into a werewolf and was going to try to win a sweet, nice campaign, sort of your Tracy Flick from Election, but instead was going to be uncontrollably mauling people and maybe passing out and not realizing it until towards the end, which I still think that could have been a very workable choice for this. I think Gwen is a great choice too, but pour one out for Seth and for Vicky. That's my segment.
Bring Vicky back for...
Vicky back, yeah. Werewolves 2, The Vickening. Vicky snaps.
For when we do Oops All Werewolves.
Yeah.
Oops All Werewolves would be a
Nice.
great Many Realms. Yeah.
Does anybody else have a segment?
You have the headphones and you're the segment producer holding your clipboard and you're like, okay, we've wrapped that.
Ooh, I do have a question, actually.
Oh, please.
Are there characters that everyone's characters, NPCs or PCs, were drawn on from pop culture?
No, yeah. I mean, it's always kind of like a
Yeah.
slop, isn't it?
Like the Yara being the student use of like the newspaper idea, I feel like is just like generally like grabbed from maybe like a Veronica Mars. I feel like newspapers were big from in that. That might be where I pulled that from.
The Neptune Navigator.
Not that Yara ended up being very Veronica Mars-y, but
No, she ended up being very how much was she on screen?
a little, not too
A
much.
little. Gwen definitely is a dash of Lisa Simpson, a dash of Daria. I was kind of obsessed when looking at visual references of there's a photo of a person called Cinnamon Hadley that Neil Gaiman used as inspiration for the art for Death in the Sandman comics. And she just like the hair is just like a shape. It's like a real 3D shape of the constructed hair and the heavy eyeliner and the tattoos that I'm like, that sort of like punk waif that would like break your heart and also like know how to read Latin or something crazy like that.
How about you, Eli?
You go first while I think about it.
Well, I think a lot of it, I mean, everyone's definitely like the creature of the week type of stuff, right? I mean, the amount of times that Jesse said like Buffy, for me, it was...
And I put a dime in the jar every time.
Your Winona Earps, like I haven't seen Veronica Mars, Teen Wolf for some of us.
Was there any inspiration for Lynette? He sort of sprung fully formed out of your forehead like Athena from Zeus, and I want to know more.
I think that Jillian was the one that gave that was you with the Mallory thing, right? I don't think I said that, correct? Yeah.
You definitely said that.
Jillian wouldn't do that to herself.
I remember Jillian being like...
I said that?
So Jordan's pitch as NPC, and I just learned how to do this accent now.
Oh, I was like, I wanted you to have to do the... I was just kind of, yeah. Right.
My favorite part of that is then you were like, I'm British, but don't have an accent.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that because I really actually loved the bait and switch of like pulling it out for 7 and 8. I think that's great.
That's true.
It felt like the mask came off or whatever.
Jillian, you had like inspiration from Election, right?
That is what I based like the whole campaign off of, was that movie.
Yeah.
Just because I liked the petty ways they got back at each other. It's like, I'm going to tear all your posters down and like, hug the garbage bags with the posters in it and whatever. Like just watching that felt very true to this game. So that's definitely what inspired like the game overall. And then generally the night before records, I would just watch a bunch of Dawson's Creek, which isn't great television, but they're very focused on like the mundane relationships that they have among the cast. So that was good to focus on.
So the first question I have here that I have stolen from Jillian is to reflect on your character's journey from episodes 1 through 8 and like how they changed and grew. And I also want to ask Jillian to maybe pick an NPC or two to answer the same question.
Okay. I think Riri, I think that hers is probably marked fairly simply, other than the accent change that Jesse has already noted. Riri comes to this town kind of with a holier than thou attitude to, I suppose, mortals and probably beings at large. Kind of goes through coming to have a respect for some of them and understand that she didn't, even though she's lived a while, that she hasn't actually really seen all that I guess humanity has to offer. And then obviously towards the end of the campaign, she's kind of completely put to be the inverse, in that, she is not only like bested by, these people that she looked down on, but then is also kind of humiliated and then therefore alienated from her own species, which arguably makes her, I guess, closer still to the humanity that she shunned, and ultimately leaves her being kind of alone in the world trying to find her way, which is a pretty stark fall from grace, I think, is kind of the trajectory there.
I think Anna grew in like, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of the characters that I've had in the past have like very more complex parables, or like they learn like a very specific message, like it's okay to be alone, it's okay not to define yourself, whatever. And Anna's was like a much more classic story compared to especially everyone else in this campaign. Everyone went really interesting places. I think Anna's was more of the like the route, like, I don't know, shitty popular girl learns to be less shitty, less selfish, and think of others more. Yeah, so she definitely had growth, but it was, I guess, kind of like the classic story that all of the more like interesting stories could wrap around.
I'm very interested in you two both playing, I mean, not to pass judgment or anything, but you guys were kind of like the naughty team overall. Like, what was it like going into it with like more antagonistic PCs? Like, it's so different from a setup like Tallow or Lakeshore where the expectation is we're all gonna like get along and like work towards a common goal, and you and Jordan were like, we're gonna kill you. Was that challenging? What were like the rewards of it? How did it feel?
It really all might work, like acting as well. I find that I try in life to conduct myself in hopefully a nice way, and so in a weird way, whenever it's like doing any type of medium, it's actually sometimes easier to access the other side of it because it's like the forbidden fruit. It's the like, ooh, I can have some fun with this. So in some ways, it's enjoyable, but then it's also like, oh, I don't want
to be mean.
I don't want him not like me. I don't want that. But it doesn't feel horrendously difficult, which is perhaps not great, but
a sign of your nascent sociopathy.
But yeah, I think songs, it's like I have fun if I know that it's not going to like derail a campaign or something. I have fun being antagonistic because it also is fun to be the one that brings other people together by like being the folk. Like if it's like a D&D campaign and you're like the evil driving force, it gives it like, it's fun to see, especially if they're people that don't know each other. In the case, we obviously know each other, but it's fun to see people like, you know, if it's a couple of friends, them start to like form bonds over their wanting, which is weird. It's like, I don't know.
No, totally. I totally get that as like someone who's DM'd plenty of campaigns. It's like you want a great villain that like is fun for you to be evil and also like gets their blood boiling for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice to see Anna and Gwen team up in the final episode. I really liked that dynamic of like, I hate your guts, but I guess you saved my life, so you can't be all bad.
And it's kind of wild. I'm realizing as I'm editing this is that like we don't interact with each other after 1 and before I think like 7, if not 8. No, yeah, 7 at the house. Like we do not spend, we hate each other so much that we don't want to be in the same scene. Which is, I mean, there's so much stuff going on, and like in these eight short episodes, we're like cramming like loves and losses and chess and etc. But I do like that there was time at the end for Anna and Gwen to sort of like reevaluate each other and maybe come to more equal footing. Totally, I agree. I guess to talk about Gwen in general, because we did the Riri and the Anna. Gwen, I mean, I wanted to contrast everyone else because the other 3 had already kind of started to brainstorm their PCs when we were getting started. And I was like, well, we have Anna and Riri who are like openly textually saying they don't care about like governance or anything. They care about power and control. And we have Declan, who Jory was sort of defined as like a little bit confused, kind of like excited, but not with like, you know, too new to Earth to have developed like an extremely comprehensive moral compass. So I was like, okay, so the person who would clash with that, who would like bring out the tensions there, is someone who does have a strong moral compass, who feels very righteous and is maybe kind of uppity about it. But then at the same time, I had to balance that with someone who would actually like start shit in order to create problems in the plot and like get people excited about it. So I think the Fae is really cool there because you can kind of do things like hurl scalding coffee into your best friend's face and then just fully be like, I was right. I did the right thing. Like, thanks for asking. It's not villainous. It's like a separate morality system. But like Jordan says, it's like the back half of like 5, 6, 7 is like people being like, what the fuck, Gwen? And it's fun to do something so transgressive that you give everyone else something to talk about and bond over that way. So I liked that she got kind of dark. I liked that.
It's good to have a dark arc.
Dark arc.
Dark Gwen.
Love a dark arc.
But Declan.
Love an arc.
Declan. Declan has a weird one. He had a weird week.
Not a normal one for Deck that week.
Yeah, I like because he, like Jesse said, he comes in with like not really knowing too much, like very spacey. And I don't think he gets less spacey as time goes on. Some of what I was trying to do on purpose was to have him be a little bit more like go from sort of not paying attention to the world around him to like kind of more and more like seeing the consequences of his actions and like thinking about it. Whereas at the beginning he like, I don't know, for example, pisses off Elizabeth by pulling the newspaper stunt. And then the next day Elizabeth's like, hey, that was a bad thing to do actually. He's like, oh no. I guess the thing that like ended up being the most defining thing is, of course, the relationship with Gwen, which, like, didn't quite get to what he needed in the end. Like, it just didn't quite get there, which is why he like swam off at like he did. So his arc was kind of like an almost getting there, just like an almost getting what he wanted and needed and just not quite being able to reach it.
Yeah, I would even say that like the more he learned about the people he was like living with and the people in his environment, like the more ugliness and like darkness he found. Like Gwen's someone who like clearly loves him and like spends time with him and, you know, enjoys him, and then he like finds out that she's like a little bit unhinged and violent. You know, he like tries to have like a fair match with Anna and Riri, and then he learns like the depths of their depravity, and it's like the more Declan learns, I kind of like I understand why someone would not want to hang around Whitfield Bay after the week he had.
Boys only want one thing, and when they don't get it, they fucking jump back into the ocean. Typical.
It's human decency.
Do you have anything to add, Jillian?
In terms of NPCs, I guess there's only really like 2 that have any kind of arc, I guess.
Gay Evan.
Yeah, it's the
As
gays.
the kids call them.
So there's Harmony and Evan, of course. And of course, like I didn't plan anything big. Like I took notes on everybody's relationship to each other in my relationship web, which I've talked about so many times. And that was really helpful for sure in terms of like understanding kind of what their individual motivations were. And I knew kind of as soon as I introduced Harmony, like literally for the sake of Anna's sexual conquests, that I wasn't gonna make that easy. Because everything for Anna comes easy. So I was like,
Gang, gang.
no. A mixed success means not now, means slow down. You can't have it immediately. So I think that was me pushing Anna's character to like work for something and like show that you mean it. So even though like at the end, Anna confesses like, you know, I only did this because like, but it turned out differently. I think Harmony's like okay for that because like she saw Anna try, and Anna Gale like trying for something so earnestly, like having to work harder for something, is good. And I mean, it's so funny, right? Like it's literally only like a week it's a week-long campaign, like, so the arcs are always like so sped up. And that would never really
It's like
happen
a
in a
Disney
week.
Channel movie, or it's like you leave the week of camp an entirely different human being.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Evan tried to tell Riri in like episode 2, Riri's not his type, but she fully cut him off. So I was like, the world needs to know. The world needs to know. She's not that into girls. So that was my mission with Evan.
By God, they're gonna know this boy's gay.
Yeah, I guess that's my that's my MC agenda.
Agenda, yeah. Good, the gay agenda.
The gay agenda. Yeah. I know who I am. It's okay. He wasn't just gonna be bullied into silence. Mostly because it's not interesting for the plot. It's like, yeah, I like that he was, the first vocal opposition to Riri and helps like build that. And it made him really vulnerable. And, his
Didn't die.
death almost happened like 3 times and didn't, because Riri didn't want to take her teeth out or whatever. But yeah, it was nice to have him as like a shit disturber in some
I really
ways.
like I think I've experienced that person, who is like kind-hearted and like wants what's best, but is like has surrounded himself for whatever reason with shitty people, and it's like, dude, like your friends are awful and some of them are trying to eat you, like come away, come leave them, go fly somewhere else. Evan, I just wanted him to tell the rowing team to fuck off, tell Riri to fuck off, and like make it out of there alive, which he did, so that's good.
Yeah,
He lives,
it's a big high school mood. So many people, I was like, you are so nice to me one-on-one. Why are you a dick in a group of people? Like, I
That
hate
dynamic
that
is
shit.
so interesting.
I feel like that's kind of emphasized, like now that you're saying this, like by the fact that he's literally the only one in his clique who's not in a hive mind.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I tried to kind of take that philosophy with some of the other characters too, right? Kennedy does open up to Gwen a little bit in the car.
I like that scene.
Because she's alone, and yeah, I kind of wish that had been pursued a little more, but
I know.
8
there's only so much time.
Even Elizabeth
Yeah.
is like, when Yara's on my butt, like I can't do anything, but like secretly, like I think you're doing some good stuff. So I like that, the way she kind of can't speak up when Anna comes into shop class and starts like swanning around. There's definitely that world of like, what you say matters so much, and you have to be so careful about where you say it and who you say it to. Even from the jump, there's so many like gossip and secrets, like is Riri a vampire, who has the pelt? Like it's really a world that's like charged with an undercurrent of like additional information, how that is like capital, which is all very political.
What's like a favorite moment or something that made you laugh or emotional or something you're proud of?
Oh, what did I say when I said something about that's what I have, and it was like care or some bullshit that I said, and it was the stupidest thing I've ever said in my life.
Context, please.
It was like
It
last
was
week.
the last episode,
Oh,
Yeah.
and I said something, and I wish I could turn back time in that moment.
I mean, I asked what you're proud of.
Oh, on the boat monologue, and then you sort of like got kind of embarrassed.
You were like, oh my god, this is bugging me.
It was something.
Somebody
so
played the tape.
Stupid.
We'll put in a clip here.
I gave you that campaign on a silver platter, and it's still not enough for you, Anna. It's never enough. Well, you know what is enough? What I've had. I've had.
Had enough.
That's your favorite moment?
You didn't like it.
Oh, that where you
Yeah,
like collapsed and
yeah.
was like, that was so okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you enjoy or like?
I still enjoy that.
Okay.
But I kind of liked your guys' newspapery heist plan. the whole like, well, really everything to do with like, I don't know why I enjoy. I mean, I always just pictured like a full-on like printing press, and it's like,
Me
you know,
too. Yeah.
but it's probably just like, you know, like a
Photo
old
like a,
HP
just like a
printer.
yeah, like a printer. But yeah, stop the press. I just I like that. I liked that as well as just really anything that kind of like, as we were actually in the like winning votes section. I like, because, you know, obviously we knew it's a week where you had like some idea of like a general arc, but everything that happens therein, you know, feels like obviously to the Realmers, you know, we didn't rig it, you know. So I like that element of not really knowing from, you know, week to week who's going to have the votes, and like mentally tallying it up and that type of thing was really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked that part a lot too. I like that Anna has so many quantifiable assets to her campaign and to her like power. So it's like, I don't have to be like, I'm gonna spread a rumor. I can be like, I am going to literally leverage the old timey printing press for sure. My favorite Riri moment, actually, I think much credit should be given to episode 1's the old suck and fuck. Well, not only because it's very fun and funny and we're like enjoying ourselves.
It
and,
really
like,
set the tone.
yeah, exactly, right? It's like, I think in a game like Monster Hearts that has so much intense content potentially in it, there's definitely a bit of a like, who's going to be the first, like, who's going to like toe over the line and like jump, and Jordan stuck his hand up and he said, I am. He drew first blood, he sucked first dick, as the saying goes. And it really, like, I think opened the door for everyone else to just run through and start getting crazy, which was so good. I'm glad it happened so early, and I'm glad it happened so decisively.
Yeah, I'm honestly shocked it came from Jordan.
I'm not even a little bit. You are?
There's just like, his character has been so like anti-intimacy, like in every other campaign.
True.
I think I just tend to latch on to whatever is the like driving force. It's almost like we have like a theme or something. Like, you know, with Lakeshore, it's like, it's violence, it's like, it's mystery, it's deception.
The
It's
theme for this one was sex.
it's whatever I say.
Well,
You know, turning people into Swiss cheese. You see, it's like, you know, that's that. And then this one, you're saying like, you know, that you know, there's a lot more sex, there's a lot more relationships, and that's like a fundamental part of the game. So obviously, even what Jesse's saying, being cognizant of that, it's like, well, we better get that in off the get go, or else we're doing a disservice to the actual system we are playing within.
absolutely.
Yeah. We love to complain about games of Monster Hearts where like it doesn't happen.
We hold hands.
Yeah.
I mean, do whatever you're comfortable with. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But the game is like, this is a game about sex, FYI, on page 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like totally fine if people want to like fade to black and stuff, but it's just like, this stuff happens when you're teenagers, like, and it makes everything so messy and complicated. So I'm so glad that happened in episode 1 in like the most complicated way.
Yeah.
It was a joy to edit.
A moment I really liked that wasn't me was us doing the speeches and then the kind of like intercutting of Gwen destroying the newspaper. It was such a good tie-in of everyone's characters saying things. Unfortunately, except Riri didn't get as much spotlight in that moment, but it was a really good like way to tie those 3 threads together, I guess, of those 3 characters. And then I also really liked being in the car with Declan and Anna, and it was like such a good encapsulation of like almost, you know? We were almost friends and we could have been friends, and this could have potentially paved like a less shitty human reality for Declan, and this could have, I don't know, and like for the first time Declan or anyone asked Anna how she's feeling, and she like almost considered it, and it could have been changed, and it kind of wasn't, and I liked it. Yeah.
Jory, favorite moment?
Favorite moments. I really liked that car scene too. I was very proud of my argument to try and get Leonard to vote for me, even though it didn't turn out. Kind of echoing what Jordan said, a lot of my favorite moments were like campaigning stuff and like the mean girl scene in the first episode, and the trying to like seduce Elizabeth away so that Gwen can do the like schemy election-y stuff.
Yeah, I think
For sure.
some of my favorite moments, honestly, are the way that Jesse like crafted friendship with different people, like the way you just like flop down in front of Mina and are just like, I hate my life. Shove him into a locker for me. Like, I love that shit. I thought it made that relationship feel really lived in. And it was always just like very purposeful. And I think that contrasted well with how you talked to Declan and how that relationship evolved too. I think that was like a really exciting arc.
Yeah, those are both such fun characters to like bounce off of. And like you said, like I really love, to me, it's like all the world building in the world can be like great, and it's like glad we have it in a doc somewhere, but it's like, how does it feel when you're actually like in there in the room with the person? Like, what would you say? What would you do? I mean, I think it's, besides the weird stealing and crushing and violent assault, there's definitely just some like Jesse Jillian in Gwen Mina just in terms of like throwing yourselves on each other when the world is too unbearable. So I really love just pulling that in and like playing with it on the record. And Declan, yeah, it was so like, I remember that first crush feeling of like the person can do no wrong and you want to be so tender and you want to be so supportive that you're willing to just kind of like throw yourself into it headlong. Like, so fun to like tap into those different things and like see how what they look like in these bizarre like caricature people.
All right, so now let's talk about Monster Hearts. What did you guys like about Monster Hearts? How is playing this game compared to the other games we've played? We've talked about this a little bit already, but just to hone in on, Monster Hearts.
I'll go first because I love this game.
Do it.
I guess this was the first non-D&D / Pathfinder game that I ever played, and it just really spoke to me as somebody who loves supernatural teen garbage television or media. Like I don't know. It's such a delicious little genre. But what I really like about this game is that it just makes every issue, every feeling so serious, because when you're a teenager, everything is the end of the world. Like every setback is like, it's over, we're done. Like the world hates me, I give up. And every win is just like, I'm invincible, I'm unstoppable, nothing can touch me. And I like the way it treats relationships, and that it's about social manipulation over anything else. Like that is the goal of this game, and why all my NPCs are like mean, I guess.
And hot.
Mean and hot, yeah. I think it really captures like the teen spirit so well. Even like the nicest people say like bitchy things, and then you can like instantly regret it, or you can just adopt that as your personality of the week. Like, so good.
You and I had a conversation, Jillian, at one point during the recording of the campaign where it was like, it felt like there were scenes where like the characters were the players, in fact, where we were looking more for like a persuasion role or like a convincing role. But it's so interesting because Monster Hearts deliberately, like, with forethought, refuses to give you that vocabulary in terms of moves. Moves are about shutting someone down and gaining power over them, either with like seduction or with contempt. So I love that it makes everything not neutral. Everything has to be positive or negative, because it just pushes people into more extreme, contorted situations and like complex relationships. Because if it was just like make them help you and then not care about it later, it's like there's fewer stakes there, and that's not what teenagers do. Teenagers are like L or D in every scenario. So I think that's like challenging when you compare it to many other systems people will be familiar with, but it's also like a brilliant concept in like game design.
Absolutely.
I feel like in a similar vein to that, like Monster Hearts, and I feel like I felt this with especially those of us who have not played as much Monster Hearts as Jillian. But so often you approach campaigns and you're like, well, people are rarely monsters. They're usually just like people who are trying their best, and they're always in at least like a little bit justified, I guess. And so I really liked Monster Hearts because it forces you to like draw that monster out, I guess. And it's like, what do you as a person find monstrous and abhorrent and have difficulty justifying yourself, and try to like approach that destination rather than starting from yourself and starting from your own personal justifications.
It gives you permission to be transgressive and to see what that's like, and to be like, yeah, I kill him, yeah, I eat him, yeah, I like throw him off a cliff. Like, what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, it's such a challenge. It's like so much more a challenge than other character creations in other campaigns and games. But yeah, like you said, I feel like it just like pushes you to do so many more extreme or dramatic things.
I like the darkest self. I like that that's something that's factored in. Anytime that like a rule book contains something that is like the darkest self, I think it incentivizes players to both consider consequences as well as like expand the horizon of what they can do in any given situation. If there's like a rule for, you know, in the case of something like D&D, like I think alignments become kind of abstract, and a lot of people don't fully know exactly what that means and what it takes to shift into one. But if you define it as clearly as Darkest Self does, I think it makes it more an option in people's minds to do a variety of things, because they feel that there is a fundamental core piece of the gameplay that factors in those actions. Whereas in a lot of other systems, it's more like, if I do this, am I ruining our, lawful good campaign? If I do this, do I do this and then I'm evil forever and I can only be evil? Is like the types of questions that come into people's minds. And so I think that having that in mind when constructing a game is a great idea, because then it just clears the air, that makes sure there's no confusion on that, as well as gives people a feeling of permission to do a broader spectrum of actions, which is the case, I think, in everything with it too, with like sex move and stuff. All these things that in a lot of other systems might be like, treading water, or people think it's taboo, or like, we haven't talked about if this is in our campaign. Well, it's like, okay, well, this is in.
It's on the sheet.
Yeah.
It says it here. Yes, totally. Even the name Darkest Self is like, it is still yourself, and everyone automatically has one. It's not like, what if I'm the one that goes evil? It's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an example of like where the other place where other rules can falter is that there's so many that it feels like not all of them apply to any given campaign. When it's more condensed and clear and focused, then you know that all these rules can, will, and should apply to any given campaign.
Well said.
Yeah, something I like about the Darkest Self too is it gives you a way out, right? It's not permanent. Like the corruption system in Urban Shadows is incremental, and it just gets worse, right? You can't really clear your corruption. Once you have it, that's it. Which I think is a great like separation too between like a teen game and like a game about adults too. So
teens can like wipe a slate clean because you're in your youth.
They can go to college.
They can go off to college.
Or not and become a goth.
Or don't go to college.
It's not goth to go to college.
When are we going to do the goths debrief?
The sequel at college.
Oh God.
We could run like frats and fights or whatever with Onyx and Azrael. I would like that a lot, actually.
Cute.
We can't do it at college or everyone will know I'm a phony.
Another thing that we've kind of touched on, but I was really interested in, because this is such a difference between this campaign and our other ones, is how do we feel about like the teams like playing really like a combative game in this way?
The challenge of it for me is like, I have as much time as I want with Declan to flesh out the Declan relationship and think about what we like and don't like and what makes us like tick or work together, not work together. And there's just so much room to play. And it's like so hard to get to that space with either Anna or Riri. And like obviously vice versa. It's like I want us to have as much time as possible to like dig into how these characters interact or not. But when we put ourselves in a hostile place, it's like that has to be like that low level energy in every scene. We can't ever go into one and be like, what do you think about this restaurant or that? We have to be like, you bitch.
Yeah.
So that's tricky because it feels like there's a limitation there. It also opens up like a lot more, like it can push the other way, like we've just talked about, and get more into like in a game like Lakeshore, the characters probably wouldn't ever get into like a physical altercation and attack each other because they need to be united to sort of keep the story moving. Whereas the freedom in this is that like we can have like a crazy speedboat chase and like a vampire attack because there's no requirement for us to all be a family at the end. Which so I think there's ups and downs there.
Yeah, this is also definitely the first game we did not leave being like a lovely little...
The epilogue is not about people like partying.
Yeah. No one's having tea parties once a week in their tower for the rest of eternity.
I want to know what Jillian thinks about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, something I've really felt the importance of in Monster Hearts is having a really strong character hook for what you want and how what you want somehow is in conflict with what someone else wants, like what the other characters want. Some of that is inherent, I think, in the playbooks, in the way some of them honestly kind of feel like predator and prey. Right? I think there are more like active and passive playbooks, and having a mix of those is really important. And then I thought like a school election backdrop really just kind of heightened that sense of it. And then you don't have to come up with what you want. The thing you want is to win the election. And however you do that is up to
I
you.
will say, because everyone has already kind of touched on the actual like rivalry, I guess, and how that works like dynamically. At the beginning of the campaign, I was like, Jordan, we have to at least get along in the beginning. I was like, we're always fighting, but this time we're allies. Like, it's okay if something happens in the end, but at the beginning we have to be friends, okay?
And that's how you end up doing a motorbike crash, is you have all that tension building because you're forcing it.
Repression.
That's it.
Textbook.
I feel like a kind of interesting thing, at least, is like Chessie, you were saying, like you couldn't really like build relationships with Anna and Riri. I do think Declan like at least was able to build a bit of a relationship with Riri that I thought was pretty interesting. I also really like those scenes because Jordan is like being very like fanciful in his speech and like, you know, using words, and Declan's like, oh,
Declan is more of a sound-based character. Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think that's nice. That's fun to edit and listen to me. But yeah, I thought the like rivalry for like a character like Declan was interesting because I don't think it was like natural for him.
Declan interacting, especially in a rivalry capacity, just breaks my heart.
I kind of love that he's like a bit of the campaign punching bag. Like every PC and NPC is pushing him in a completely different direction. He's like, but
he arrives on land. He barely knows how to do the like putting the circle shape into the circle hole. And then everyone, all the humans are all like, I want to have sex with you. I want to destroy you. I hate you and I love you. Like, it's
he's the best
so
character
much
to
for
be.
him.
He receives so much attention.
It's very overwhelming.
He just loves Nirvana.
And I think it's just very in character for some like West Coast kid to be super into Nirvana. I thought that was correct.
Of course.
Yeah. Is there anything you wish that you had a chance to do or say that did not come up in our campaign?
I wanted a little bit more, personally for me, emphasis on Anna's. It's hard because like I didn't want it to be like about Anna's home life, but it definitely was the most like humanizing part of her. So that was a tough one to balance, and I actually still, looking back, can't tell if I feel like I did it enough or not enough or too much.
You can definitely see as the campaign goes that shift, as it's like the different cracks are showing, and like you're playing with where you want like the light to be kind of positioned from, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Well, then I guess it was done perfectly. No regrets.
Nice.
I'll say, I wish me and Declan had a better shot of winning the election.
Yeah.
We tried so hard, especially in like 2, 3, and 4. I wanted more like cracks to appear in Anna. I wanted to like take Riri down a peg. And a lot of the times it was like the dice just not rolling out that way, which is totally fair. But it puts us in a really bleak zone for like 6 and 7 where we're just like, we probably lost. Yeah, we lost. I think it's it's an interesting takeaway in terms of like power and like power begetting power and just like the futility of this kind of political fight. But it's also like, for Gwen and Declan, probably quite unsatisfying in some ways.
Yeah, I think part of that is my fault too. In terms of like which NPCs are sympathetic towards you, and how much all of those people like had screen time, and it's just kind of the way everything shook out. But like I did have, I think, the band and drama like being sympathetic to Declan and Gwen like from the beginning, and then of course Anna went like straight for it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Like I was like, these people are probably like your friends, and then we didn't talk to them. So I feel like with like a session 0, maybe as like this is 1 month before everything, like just meet everybody.
Yeah,
would be helpful.
There were a lot of NPCs,
Yeah.
especially when it seemed like some factions had like multiple points of contact. Is me being best friends with Mina as impactful as Declan like losing a role against like the leader of the how do we balance that kind of thing? There's so much math, I guess.
Yeah, and like I tried to mechanize the election with a set of moves that probably work better for a one-shot than they do with a campaign. So thank you for playtesting this moveset. I think it needs work.
Do you have any thoughts on like what you would do to improve it for a campaign then, now that you've played with it?
No, I don't know how to fix the problem.
What do you see as the problem?
I think that very often you were able to role play a very convincing argument, and then I made you roll and it failed, and it's like, they will never vote for you. And it's like, okay, but the things that you said were good. Like all of your arguments with Leonard were good. So that's why I was like, I guess he doesn't vote like at all. I guess he doesn't care about politics. Like it's not
Queen's Gambit. The only winning move is not to play, which is probably what that is.
Yeah, that's how the Queen's Gambit ends.
She leaves the chess room.
My biggest regret is not talking about the Queen's Gambit more.
My biggest regret. I wonder if there's a place for like, maybe it's more about, because what I loved about say like the arts people is that like their conflict was very present, like obvious, real, and easy to like I can understand that you are having a space issue, and we can like base our arguments and our concepts like around that. And if there was a version maybe where like every faction had like the problem, it maybe becomes more about like what is each team going to do to solve that problem, because sometimes it was just sort of like it was very rhetorical, and it was very like, when you elect me I will do this, as opposed to like it might be cool if it's like, I will vote for you if you can fix this complex issue over the next week. It's more questy, I guess.
That's true.
It's like Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah, it's earning rep with factions for sure.
I think maybe potentially like a good solution is, for every convincing argument you make, it's a +1 to your roll. For every unconvincing argument you make, or something that you even just do during the campaign, it's a -1 when you try to vote for them. And if somehow you have like a amazing roll and you have an amazing argument and you still fail the roll, it could be like, you know, conceptually you could be like, well, down the line they are gonna forget to vote or something like that. It's like
gonna get lost on their way.
Yeah,
somehow
I think one of the things that like is written into the like first iteration of the rules that we didn't like touch on is like you can cash in strings to like buy a vote, and I think that is maybe like better than having the actual move win you the vote. I think you're right that like vote for me should be like, when you make a convincing argument against someone, take +1 forward on your roll to, you know, roll whatever move you want. I think that's probably the better approach, at least for campaign play. I think in a one shot, like the actual vote for me move is fine.
I think that like a student election is like a crackerjack premise for a Monster Hearts campaign, and I hope you like continue to play with that idea, and I would love to see it like some print version of like the campaign setting of student election coming from Many Realms Press or whatever.
Probably by the time that this airs, I will have something.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I told the patrons I would maybe show them like sneak peeks.
Nice.
I feel like I guess like if we were to put this in Lakeshore terms, 2 power faction went up against these 2 underdogs, and like as a collective we maybe should have been like, oh, let's give them some sort of like tool to leverage, but we really were just like, anyway, Anna owns everything, good luck.
That's true.
It's
We really
true.
didn't have much, especially once you went for Harmony. I was like, well,
Yeah, when I was
no.
working on Gwen, Jillian was even like, maybe you're also like best friends with Crystal in arts, and I was like, that's totally fair. I was just like iffy about like having so many NPCs to like attend to and do scenes with and such a sort of thing. But maybe we should have had like a gun.
Declan probably should have had a second friend, maybe.
Declan could have had a second friend, yeah.
A local fisherman at the wharf.
Or like one
Oh
that can
gosh,
vote in the election.
he could have had a Leonard who he goes fishing with.
Nice.
Fish Leonard.
It should have just also been Leonard.
Yeah, it should have just also been Leonard. No,
Yeah,
Jordan
it
wouldn't have
should've been
shared.
Leonard.
You should have done Gwen and you should have done the Bugs Bunny episode with the frog, and you turn into the seal, and then like Gwen's like, look, it's a singing seal, and then
Hello,
you
my
stop
baby.
singing, and he's like, no, he was just singing a second ago.
How would that
To
have solved the
accomplish
problem?
what?
That's how we win the election.
To win the election, except just remove the part where the seal stops singing and just actually continue to sing.
Okay, so your idea is to have Declan be a seal and sing.
Yeah.
Convince everyone that the school is haunted by a singing seal, and then sell it to developers like a bad Scooby-Doo episode that didn't quite make it all the way through.
Yeah, I wish we'd had. In some ways, I wish we'd had more time to like flesh out some of the relationships, because I felt like for like a school election, it's like a pretty big thing, and so like there needs to be enough factions for it to be interesting, and it can't just be like you talk to 3 NPCs and that's it. And that's one of the I think the biggest challenges is with this game. Like it asks you to develop like a lot of NPCs, and I think that's part of just like warming people up to role playing. And then it's just like you create a bunch of stuff and you see what sticks, right? You just kind of throw them all at the wall, and then you talk to whoever you think is interesting. But yeah, there's always too many, and then there's always not enough time to like flesh it all out. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Monster Hearts isn't written to like perform for a podcast audience, so it doesn't matter if like 2 NPCs have only one scene and then disappear and no one cares, but we're trying
Rip
to not
Rusty.
give our audience 19 NPCs that they have to follow and remember. So you always have to like find that what's not accounted for in terms of like how we make this a show.
Yeah. I guess if anything, I would probably want to like have fleshed out the relationship with Elizabeth a bit more, and like had that been more of a
Yeah.
thing. Like that could have been like a very fun subplot if there
Especially with
wasn't
her
too
in
many.
at the newspaper.
Yeah.
She could have been like a double agent.
she was very complex and interesting.
Yeah, I know.
And you'll
us-
never know.
Can you tell us?
Tell us
about
about
Yeah, this is the
Elizabeth.
time. Give us the whole
It's
tea.
Elizabeth time.
No, like Jordan literally made this character up. We talked about it in episode 0. She like had a troubled home life, and yeah, I don't know, that like could have had more of a spotlight if you wanted it to.
Were there other character like bits that you had in your head? Like I always have like a handful of things. So I'm like, oh, if they do this, I'll like figure it out this way. Did you have like things we didn't get around to? Cobwebs in the corners of your mind?
No, I no, I don't. I don't really plan that way. At least not for this game. This game I think is really volatile, and I always know people like Jory are going to show up with something like super cool in their back pocket and just be like, actually it's this. It's like, yes, great, we're going to do that now. Sorry, Jory, you just always have some like fun
Do I?
surprises. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, it's always just like you're quiet for like a
Absolutely.
while, and then you're like, so I had this idea.
It's fun. There's a bit where like Jordan makes a reference to an Exodia bomb, and Jory's like, I literally have no idea what that is. But Jory's kind of the master of it. She'll be like, well, in episode 6, I took this move, and I wasn't sure when I was going to use it, but I decided to do it right now and kill the final boss and win the campaign. And you're like, okay, yeah, sweetie. It's like the perfect like execution every time.
Should I
Yeah.
watch Yu-Gi-Oh again?
Yeah, that was the
that's the takeaway
takeaway.
to get from this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, like
Jillian has pulled up the cork board with Post-its on it for the Realmers.
Jillian, the entire campaign would look at this corkboard and not show it to us.
yes. These are the votes, which I read to you. Yeah, but
Yeah.
the original setup that I had was like who's relationshiping who. Yeah, so there was, the like weird triad between Harmony, Jeremy, and Crystal, where Harmony and Crystal kind of have some unresolved feelings from, I don't know, middle school or whatever, and then Jeremy's doing that in secret.
Extremely rude of Jeremy, by
That's
the way.
intense. If your twin was doing it, I'd be like, hello.
Okay,
True.
the best part is Anna showing up and be like, if I need to tell Crystal to suck a dick and fuck off, I will. And I did say Jeremy turned beet red. I know it's like very subtle, but like in my head I was like, fuck, they have no idea.
The foreshadowing of it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I just like, I knew Evan and David were doing it.
I want you to run like a full social intrigue mystery game because you're so good at like creating and maintaining that web and like figuring out what like the impacts are.
Yes.
As she stares at the board lovingly.
It was great. I never forgot who the NPCs were. And I just forgot what all their pronouns were. So I'm sorry I didn't honor the original pronouns that some of you came
F in
up
the
with.
chat for they, them, Rusty.
Yeah,
well.
sorry.
Director's cut.
Nice.
Loved Rusty. I wanted the like Letterkenny faction.
Next time,
Next time.
the Ontario version of Recount.
The skids?
No, that'd be the Hicks.
Oh.
But
Oh,
that's,
we could do. Could we do like a whole Letterkenny RPG with the Skids and the Hicks?
Jillian and
Get
I
the
would have to
Frenchies in
watch Letterkenny, which...
No, this is me and Jordan solo two-person
Yeah, I
campaign.
do
Wait, no,
not
please
watch
actually
Letterkenny.
do
How
that.
dare you?
It gets very sort of self-indulgent from minute 0.
Oh my
It
God,
gets worse from there.
Can Jesse and Jordan do star-crossed but Letterkenny?
I'm down.
I think there's a lot of crossover between what we're doing and Letterkenny fans, so I think it'll go well.
That's our target demo, right? Letterkenny fans?
Yeah. Jillian, did you have a lobster hearts? You posted a piece of text in the Discord and I couldn't parse it, so my brain put a little envelope sticker over it. Yeah.
Well, I guess you've been talking about lobster hearts since like November or whatever.
Guilty.
It's just this like absurd bit. that I don't grasp. So I want to know like what your pitch of the game is. Like tell me more about Lobster Hearts.
Can I do you one better, and can we do a scene from Lobster Hearts?
But you have to tell me what it is first.
No, well, we all trust each
improv
other.
it
We're
out,
all
yeah.
yeah.
Great. I love
Are we
ending
ready?
the episode with absurdity.
Everyone pick a deep sea creature.
I'm just Declan still.
Jory's just Declan. Okay, only she can do that. Everyone else is-
I'm Angie the anglerfish.
Okay.
Is that? I want the one that has the light.
Okay, you can be an anglerfish.
Well, that's that.
Yeah, that's what I thought
Fine,
that was.
I'll be Bob
you
the
be,
blobfish.
you be the
It's
anglerfish.
fine.
I'm gonna
I'm
be
a
a seahorse. I'm gonna be a
blobfish.
seahorse.
Somebody else doesn't. Nobody gonna be a lobster.
No, it's just the name,
low-hanging
Jory.
fruit.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, that's just one of the classes. Yeah.
How deep sea are we talking?
Well, I'm a seal and she's an
Lightless
anglerfish.
trench.
So that's from not deep to the bottom.
I am Cthulhu resting at the bottom of the ocean.
I want to be a crab.
Okay.
I'm Christina the crab.
Okay. I guess I'm a jellyfish.
Wait, are you MCing?
Am I?
Oh, I thought
Jesse,
so.
I don't know what this game is.
It's just Monster Hearts.
Okay. Then I'm the monarch of crustaceans. Welcome to many realms.
Bonk.
Bonk.
The sandy bottom of the Pacific Ocean. It's daytime. This isn't a super, super deep spot. There's like some twinkling sunlight way up above. And you all find yourself going about your day. When this little krill comes by and says, "Sharks! Sharks!"
Oh, snap, I say. And when I snap my crab claws.
Nice.
And I go, the sharks are some bad kids from the other side of the
Jet stream.
fish tracks. Oh, very good. Yeah. From the bad side of the jet stream. And they love causing trouble here at Crayfish High.
No, it has to be a school pun, though.
It has to be fishschooloffish.com.
It's an e-school. It's a Pangea.
Because of the Pangea.
Who told the sharks to come here? Who lured them here? Was it you, Seahorse? Who has a name? Simon?
CC.
Okay, well, that's a little bit.
Okay. No, I like it. That's good.
Well, since we gotta come in hot.
Yes, it was me.
Angie bumps into everybody talking and drops her sand dollars on the floor and is like, "Oh God, I bet it was my anglerfish light."
You're always showing that thing off, dangling around, making us hungry.
You guys are always saying that I'm only half a sea creature and half like some type of land creature, even though we've never seen them. Well, the crab has, because he could go on land, but the rest of you never have. And so I went to my shark buddies, and we're going to take all your lunch money.
No, our precious sand dollars. Wait, I think I see Bruno, the head shark, coming this way.
Bro,
All right, you kids, you gonna give me your money or what?
Jordan's gonna take
what's
over
up?
and do the shark voice.
No, you have to be
That's
all
fair.
three sharks talking to each
Nice.
other.
Yeah,
All right.
if you could.
All right, guys, yeah, we gotta get that money.
Oh, well, geez, all right, boss. Well, wait, which one you want me to get? I'm good at getting them. That's my best thing. I'm the best at getting them. Oh, well, enough talking. All right, start with the. What kind of thing is that? I've never seen. What's got light on its forehead? What is that? Geez, boss, I don't know. I've never seen anything like that.
Hey, leave Angie alone. She can't help that she has a big, weird, dumb lid on her head. I'm gonna go my darkest shell.
Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back with something cool soon. Bye.
Probably one shots.
Okay, stop recording.
Stop recording.